All right. So let me just start by saying welcome everyone to this free community event. The whole idea of this, Nick, Debbie, and I, and Kel are going to be sort of doing some talks and presentations, um, a couple of times a month, just to really help. I guess get some good quality information out there, some meditations, a chance to connect with like-minded people. So, it's so good to have you guys here, supporting what we're doing, and hopefully you guys get something out of it as well. So, thanks for coming. Tonight's subject is something I'm really passionate about. I really didn't know much about this, but when I used to do psychic readings years ago, this topic would come up sometimes for certain people. I remember one person in particular who was I guess you'd call them a technologist, that kind of a person, and this came up in their reading big time, and I was like, wow, that sounds pretty full on. What was just coming through? I'm going to kind of look into that, and so I've sort of seen and felt this change coming for quite some time, and it's really sped up in the last couple of years, especially in the last 2 years. And the change is happening quicker and quicker, and it's going to have a really big impact on all of us. And so I want to cover off some ideas and concepts here to kind of tell you where things are at with it and where it might going, and what are some of the strengths, opportunities, the threats, some of the things we need to be aware of. And there really is a really good opportunity that's coming from this, which is great. So let me just share my screen here, and I'll start off on the. Before I do that, let me just have a look at some of the questions that have been put in there so far. Well, that's a really good question. I'll start off by saying, uh, one of the interesting things that happened here is, over my time, I've done some sessions with some really interesting people from all different walks of life, and in that time, I've conversed with and people that have been heads of AI companies and, as I said, into technology, and some of the discussions and questions and things we've had around even mixing AI and spirituality, and hence the topic here, because there really is a difference between the synthetic world of AI and our world that we live in here, which is nature and real. And and there's a way that we can walk this path that's going to be a lot more holistic and beneficial for all of us. So going into this next change in our society is going to be really important, because it reminds me of when I saw this picture of New York, and I can't remember the year it was, but it was early 1900s, and it was a picture of this street, very famous street in New York, and you could see all the horses and the horse and carts going by. And then it wasn't very long later, I think it was about 13 years later, after cars got introduced, same exact street, and literally there was no horses on the street, it was all just cars. And so there's oftentimes inventions that come along that have a massive impact on humanity, and this is one of them. This is going to have a significant impact on life for us individually and collectively, and for our planet. So, so there's some things I want to discuss with you guys around that. So let me just go to that now. Okay, so this is really about natural intelligence versus artificial intelligence, and not versus as in against, but just comparing the two, because there's a very big difference, and they're both intelligences, but one's artificial and one's natural, and they will uh, never really merge in the way that some people think they will. There is a distinct difference. They're different dimensions. And so it's very important to acknowledge that. And there's some specific things that'll be advantages and disadvantages around that. So a lot of you guys listening to this have already, done a lot of work spiritually and studied things, and you're quite aware that we have a metaphysical world and a physical world. And natural intelligence is really part of this metaphysical world, this natural quantum state. And even quantum is a word to describe. It's more of a science word like quantum physics, but really describing the infinite and eternal. And that's natural intelligence. It's this force that moves in and through all things. It's this universal intelligence that creates the most incredible things. Us, stars, planets, trees, bees, the most incredible, beautiful, incredible things. And then we've got the physical world of reality, and within that we've got artificial intelligence, which is obviously being created by man, and it is very much dependent on what it is, the people that have coded it. And so it is really able to scan all of academia, all of the mental space. What it isn't able to do is go into the metaphysical space and the world of spirit, this force that moves in and through all things. They're two very different things, which is a very important distinction. And there's a lot of benefits in that if we can start leaning into the metaphysical world more. And so we can see the difference here, right? We all know that. We all know that if we're caught up in technology and it's got a vibration compared to sitting out in nature, like it's very hard in the modern world to escape artificial intelligence, whether it's using ChatGPT or even Google, or modern days it was the phone, TV. With this artificial intelligence has been around for a little while now. And perhaps, what if, just as we were starting to learn how to reconnect and maybe communicate telepathically with each other, with nature, all of a sudden the telephone was invented, an artificial version of what could be done naturally. Because we've got to remember the technology with phones and TVs and stuff is actually crystal technology. And then maybe as we're starting to really awaken to who and what we are and realize that we're this infinite source of energy within us, then all of a sudden, Google and comes around where we can ask all those questions outside of us. And then AI is just an extended version of that, where, if we're not careful, everyone will just turn to that as their source, the word, Father Google, they say. It'll be like grandfather AI, ChatGPT, everyone will turn to that for their answers instead of going within. And so there's an opportunity here and to stay in our remembering and our sovereignty, and use it as a tool rather than something that is almost considered like a deity. So all of these things have a frequency. So everything that we've been talking about, radios, TVs, mobile phone towers, all of these things have a certain frequency or a hertz. And the energies and machinations that have kept human beings healthy and allowed us to thrive and be connected to each other and nature and the sun and the earth sits at around the human resonance, roughly around 7.83. And that's a combination of the energy of the sun and the earth to create this hertz and this resonance. And that creates a beautiful zone for life. It's very healthy for life. But then we've got these synthetic frequencies of all these devices we're talking about. And if we look at a mobile phone tower, typically operates in the range of hundreds of megahertz, with frequencies commonly falling between 70 and 2600 megahertz, depending on the network generation, whether it's 3G, 4G, 5G. And so what we've got here, what that means is a mobile phone tower can operate in the range of hundreds of millions of hertz. So because everything is energy, right? This is really, really big. And I can't stress to you how big this actually is. Healthy resonance for a human being is 7.83. And everything's energy, right? And so it makes sense. It's really interesting to think. I often think that a lot of the anxieties and the depressions people are going through is because of this. It's not the only thing, but I think it would significantly make it more difficult to stay healthy mentally, emotionally, and spiritually when we're exposed to this agitating energy that's so much higher than the human resonance, which creates health. So that's something to keep in mind, because the more AI develops, for AI to really work the way they've planned for it to work, it's going to And it's going to mean there's going to have to be this incredible interconnectivity between, so many devices and satellites and, everything basically. And so it's going to be difficult to avoid, but if we're aware of it, we can then manage it. And there's definitely ways of managing, like, coming back to nature, making sure you're having balance. This isn't about not using AI or being against AI. It's just trying to remind us all the importance, even more than ever before, of coming back to our remembering of who what we are and learning to come back to nature and manage our exposure to these frequencies, and making sure we're getting that balance. Because this is already what it's like, and it's going to just get more and more like this. The vibrations, it's not uncommon for a home to really be like this these days, between the Apple TV and the phones and the smart TVs and all the different things people are working with. And fridges now have these kinds of things. There's really going to be this interconnectivity between so many devices. And so, yeah, the importance of managing that is really huge. So where are things at with AI at the moment? And this is really interesting. At the end of 2024, ChatGBT had an IQ of 157. Now that's pretty huge, and it's said to double every year from here. So you hear these numbers and you hear the hundreds of millions of hertz and you hear IQ of 57 doubling every year, and it's so easy to get complacent about that. But the average human IQ is 100. You're considered pretty smart if you've got 130 IQ. So already it's smarter than the average human, and it's going to double every year. So just stop and think about that, what that will mean. Because IQ, intelligence, has been the way humans have become the dominant species. It's been our trump card, enabling us to hold court, so to speak, on the planet. And we've done some incredible things with that. But we've also got robotics on the way, and they'll be able to work 24/7. And some of the things, and I've looked into this a fair bit, some of the things that Tesla's working on and other companies, the things that these robots are going to be able to do is unbelievable. And they will then also then have access to this artificial intelligence of at the moment, 157. And if it doubles, that's nearly 400, 800. So we don't have any precedence on the planet of operating with another element of life having such high intelligence. We just have no idea what it's going to be like to try and run a business, to try and invest, to try and live, to try and do any of these things when you've got these robots with access to this intelligence. And so, we just really need to sort of stop and think about this. And it's like, what impact is this going to have on my life? What impact is it going to have on my job? And the time to think about it is actually probably 2 years ago, to be perfectly honest, but absolutely now we have to stop and think, what's this going to do? What's this going to mean for my life, my family's life, my kids? So obviously it makes sense to is to understand it, to know about it, to learn about it, and to learn how to use it in life. And I know a lot of people already are. They're already using ChatGPT to help them with work and documents, but it's going to be doing so much more than that. And so it makes sense to stay abreast of that and to study it and understand how to use it within your career, whatever you're doing. Because it is, even if you do understand it and use it, it's still going to replace a lot of jobs and change the landscape of jobs in a massive way. And if you look at some of the places like the World Economic Forum, other places that look at this stuff all around the world, they're fully aware of this, and they're talking about plans of having universal basic income, because they understand there's going to be a lot of humans put out of work because of how quickly this is going to come through. And hopefully they'll be able to find because there will be other opportunities that emerge from that as well. But one of the things to consider is, in this area of IQ and everything that a robot with, this just such an incredible IQ could do, there is an aspect of life that they cannot touch and cannot compete with a human being is, and that is what we call SQ, or spiritual intelligence, intuition, energy healing, things like that. They're not able to do that, because we can tap into an energy. So if we're trying to compete mind for mind, intellect to intellect, if we're going to try and compete just from everything we've studied and learnt, compared to a robot that can work 24/7 and has 800, 1200 IQ, where we head to the singularity, it's not going to happen. But as far as tapping into our hearts and learning how to tap into our spiritual intelligence, our natural intelligence, and work with intuition, energy, healing, tap into our universal minds, this is where we have the advantage. And so it's very, very important to, I believe, and I know, all of us here at Rezinate believe, to really go deep into studying this side of life as well, so that you can have the X factor and that advantage. So let's talk about creating in both these areas, because artificial intelligence is, all the coding and the software engineering, and then there's the natural intelligence. And not many people really understand what that is and how to create with that. And yet we're already so trained in the physical world of reality. That's what we're taught from school. We don't get taught a lot about spiritual intelligence and natural intelligence and spirituality. We really don't. But we get taught so much about the physical world. There's so much in the physical world that we get taught. We get rewarded for that. School, college, it's all about the physical world of reality. And so now artificial intelligence is going to be that next level of progression, but there just so happens to be a level of intelligence that's separate to us that's going to overtake that area at the rate of knots. And so now we really need to go back to this other part of what it means to be a human. So artificial intelligence is still creating. It's still a creation of something. But, obviously that person that's creating that, the AI, if you think about the software programs, they need to know the laws, the rules of computer coding. They also need to be aware of everything to do with that world, how to write code, it's a whole world of all different types of skills that they need. They also need to know how to communicate to AI and how to ask the right questions. So this is going to be a huge part of this. And if you've ever used ChatGPT so far, the results are dependent on how smart you can get with the questions you ask it to do. And so we need to come back and learn about natural intelligence, about this force that moves in and through all things, and how to communicate with it, how to give it sacred commands and create in our world, not in the artificial intelligence world. We also will know that. In fact, it'll be very difficult to participate in society moving forward unless you have those skills, and that'll naturally come about with your jobs and courses, and it'll just be like computers did, phones. We all now, you might resist it a bit at first, but it'll just be part of life and how we operate. But to lessen the impact it has on you, or potentially what it might take away from you, learning about natural intelligence and spiritual intelligence is going to be a very important thing. And part of that is learning how to communicate with it. So with artificial intelligence, they need to have extensive knowledge of software, engineering, machine learning knowledge, product development skills, and they need to know the language of the AI, like Python, JavaScript are just two, and there's many, many more. It gets super complex. And this is all to become a creator in the AI world. What about being a creator in the real world? So we need to know, what do we need to know about to be able to create in the real world? Well, we need to know who and what we really are. What is a human being? Do we have a spiritual essence inside of us? What is that? What's it made of? Why are we here? How do we work with this spiritual essence? What's this reality made of? We know it's energy. Everything's energy, but what does that actually mean? And how do I work with that? What's the language of this energetic world we live in? What are the frameworks we have to work within, the rules of it? And that's universal laws. It does have a set of rules, energetic and spiritual principles that govern how all this works. Just like the AI has their frameworks and codes and rules of zeros and ones, and how they create all the instructions and algorithms and all the things that they use. And so we've been able to, I guess, live in this world with not a great deal of disadvantage, although, I would probably argue with that, but to the average person, there hasn't been a great deal of disadvantage, seemingly, without the knowledge of natural intelligence, why they're here, the world of energy, the world of the universal intelligence and its laws and rules of how reality comes to be. It's the reason why a lot of people don't understand why they're here, what's going on in their life, why the same thing happens over and over again, why they keep manifesting this in relationships, why they can't manifest what they want, you know, but they can still kind of live and survive. But because of the emergence of AI, we're no longer going to be in a place where we can really ignore this side of things. Otherwise, there'll be really a big gap between people that really understand and want to go down that world of technology and the ones that get left behind. And so I believe there's going to be this really beautiful balance of both sort of coming together in a way. So we need to learn how we can learn to direct, to talk to this energy for desired outcomes, to communicate with the quantum field. And if we think about this, if we think about, okay, what is it we need to know? So there's laws of spiritual development that have been taught for a long, long time, many thousands of years. And one of the first laws of spiritual development, or the first law, is to know yourself, who you are, why you're here, everything we just spoke about before. And then eventually, as you go through the different laws, you come down to knowing yourself as source energy. And that is a beautiful place and state. That is not found in a computer game. It's not found in an AI thing. Those things can be amazing tools to help us in the physical world, but they're not going to take us on this developmental journey to knowing ourselves as source energy, and the peace and the tranquility and the joy and the ability to manifest and connect with nature that journey will bring you. And so there's actually a huge opportunity here amongst everything that's going on and changing, which we'll talk about in a minute. So first of all, it's, what are we? Well, we're obviously energy. We're little balls of light. We're from all things, the oneness or source energy, creation energy, the creator. And it decided to become more than just one energy and decided to split off into lots of different energies and went out, and sparks of light. That's what really are. Your spirit is a spark of light moving in and out of different avatars through time. On this planet, kangaroo, rock, tree, human, go to other planets and have other experiences. The planet itself is also at its core a ball of light that happens to be in a really massive avatar. So is the sun. Galaxies, solar systems, all of it. Each of them has a spirit. There's a beginning and an end of each avatar, and it moves and grows through time, coming back to the source and the oneness and integrating the learning. So that's what we are. So it's easy to forget that, and a lot of humans don't have that understanding. And so therefore AI seems like it's this incredible, oh my God, the technology of AI. It's nothing compared to what you are. It just doesn't even hold a candle. And so now's the time to really lean into that, because it's a profound opportunity for growth and joy and experiencing and manifesting. And in fact, AI could end up being a tool that could help us free up time and space and energy to be able to, explore these things. So we're here to experience all things, to return to all things. And where are we? Well, we're on this big ball, on this big spaceship, planet Earth, roughly 8 billion of us, all hurtling through time and space very, very quickly, having this journey together. On this journey, moving through time and space with our sun, who is also an energetic being, having this experience together. And the energy that we're in right now compared to what it was 50 years ago, 100 years ago, is very different. So we're being exposed to different energy, and it's creating an opportunity for a massive awakening of a lot of dormancy and new gifts and abilities within each of us. So first of all, we also, to give context to this, we need to look at this and say, well, this energetic realm that we're talking about, this natural intelligence or spiritual intelligence, it has universal and spiritual laws that govern its operation. And so we need to find out what they are and how to apply them to our lives, to our ability to connect with all these fields that make us up as a being, and external fields as well, the earth itself, so many different things we interact with. And if you think about the way we work being a bit like a light globe, so the light globe is an analogy for the globe is actually your mind and your emotional body. And the electricity that's inside that you can see connecting to the little heart inside the globe is your spirit, and your spirit is this pure creation energy. It's part of this force that moves in and through all things, and it shines out of your light globe. It shines through your mental and emotional bodies, and it creates that for you. And so that's why it's so important when we look at any spiritual teachings, any manifestation teachings, we understand that our thoughts create things. What we believe comes into our reality. And so this is how it actually works. And so that's why it's so important to learn how to turn our mind from this, this 600-pound gorilla that distracts us and thinks about all these random things and tells us we're not good enough and not worthy, to an incredible ally that thinks and feels what we want, so we can direct this incredible life force energy into us to create outcomes that we want to see in our external world. And so this is huge. So we've got this limited programmable mind that we can access. It has a certain frequency and bandwidth. And as I said before, if we go and try and compete, and we put that up against AI and robotics, we're going to lose that battle because of the knowledge and the IQ it's going to have. But if we start to tap into this life force that moves in and through all things, that can't access and does not have and cannot access, that's our advantage. That's our X factor. And that's how we make sure that we, don't lose our place here on the planet and, get overrun by very, very smart robots, I guess. So that's just a little bit of a background of what we're talking about there. So how does this actually work? Well, there's this energy, this light. This is a universe of light, this particular universe, universe, one verse of a greater song. So there's a multiverse, there's many different universes. This particular universe that we're in right now, and there's parts of us that are experiencing other universes, and we're all going to go through it all, experience it all, and return to the oneness. So our sun is also moving through time and space, with the earth revolving around as it's going around. And what happens is we actually capture light from the sun through our thoughts, and then through the relationship with the earth, we then create things into matter through the materium or the material of the earth. And so it's this incredible dynamic. And so AI is also a creation of us, through this relationship with the light and the earth. And so we don't want to forget that. We don't want to forget our place here in this creation. And we want to acknowledge AI and the gifts it can give us, and the tool it can be, but we also want to make sure we don't get lost in that, because it will be very attractive. The things it's going to enable for us to do, the time saving, the ability, they're going to come back, and they're going to be all sorts of devices to help you measure things in your body and create trackable, there's already wearable devices and things that track this, and then there'll be enhancements and all this sort of stuff. But it's going to be very important for us to really hold our space, hold our shape, tap into our intuition, to really tune into our bodies and our natural beings, to make sure that we don't get lost in that world, and we keep the balance that we need to be. Remembering what is true and real is this relationship with the earth and the sun and your spirit and your body. A technological world is a world that goes down a certain place. Now, in certain spiritual teachings, it is said that we've gone down that path many times before, and it hasn't ended up well. So those of you that know a little bit about some of the ancient stories of Atlantis and some of the old indigenous stories, there are stories that we've gone down the technological path before and lost our way. And so that's why it's so important that as we go down this path, we have it as a tool. Just like a car helps us get places quicker, and it's good, but it doesn't mean we just get obsessed with that and live our whole life in the car. We also go, that's a great tool, and it's awesome to have that, but I've also got this whole other area of life, real life, that's a richness and a hertz and an energy that actually maintains my being and my health the way it needs to be for health and vitality. So of course, we've got this relationship between the sun and the earth. This is how you came here, through this solar gateway of our sun as a ball of light, and then you've come down here in the earth. You've started as, firmaments, gases, rocks, plant life, insect life, human life, and now you're in a human avatar, and you've probably had many human avatars before. The yogis teach that we have 8,400,000 lifetimes as other beings before we even start encountering as a human here. So this relationship that we have with the earth and the sun is huge. And so we don't want to be just overwhelmed and overawed by AI, because it's just like a little tiny little speck on the journey that we are, because you're infinite and immortal. And so we want to put AI in its place to begin with, so that we move forward in that relationship, because it could end up being a bit like an addictive substance, like an alcohol or a one of those other things that can be quite addictive. We could lose ourselves in that relationship and have it control us, and rather than us being in control of it. Because what we've been talking about up until now, AI versus NI, true connection comes from our relationship with the sun, with light, because this is a universe of light. Without these two beings, if the sun and the earth vanished suddenly, or even just the sun, everything, including AI, just ceases to exist, because this is what it's created from, right? And so inside of that, even though these seem physical, they're just energy, sound, vibrating, emitting frequencies of light, appearing solid. And you've got this infinite and eternal energy inside you. It's in this avatar of a human body, and you've got all your ancestors before you. You've got animals and nature. You've got family and friends. You've got the earth. You've got your career, your purpose, and your passion. These are the things that give human beings a true connection. And we want to maintain those and not allow ourselves to get lost with and in the relationship to AI, because it's going to be coming so quick and so fast. So the solution is to learn how your mind and your spirit and its relationship to, even just your own mind, how to navigate your mind and control it rather than it control you, how to turn the inner critic into, an amazing life coach, learning how your mind, what your spirit shines through and creates whatever's in your mind and your emotional body. So learning how to control your mind and your emotions so you can create outcomes you want. Learning how to be in right relationship with your spirit, with the other species on the planet, with the earth itself, the sun, with this universal intelligence, this natural intelligence we're talking about. Because the what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to rush to get involved in artificial intelligence and how to create using that, and how to use it to enhance their work and how to enhance their physical reality. And that, of course, it's going to be very important to do that. My point is a lot of people are going to neglect this other side. They already are, and it's only going to get worse as they go into that world, and they're going to be competing with each other, and robotics and intelligence, IQ, as we said before, that's doubling every year. I mean, we just don't have any precedents for what that's going to look like, trying to navigate and compete and run businesses and sell things and do whatever in that world. There's this whole other side of life, being a human being rather than a human doing, the world of spirit is untouchable by that, that actually opens up such an opportunity, especially for people like us who are already open-minded, open-hearted, and are drawn to things to do with healing and spirituality. It opens up a huge opportunity, because human beings are going to need this so much to balance themselves. And they, even though they might get lost in that world, they'll all eventually come back to this, because it's what creates life. It's what created them. It's what's in them. It's what life is. And eventually, whether it's early on or later in the path, they'll realize that and need a guiding light to come back to what's real, and hopefully have a balance of the two. So that's why it's so important to learn about yourself, learn about your mind, about your body, about your spirit, learning about the universal laws, learning about spirituality and concepts, learning about this universal intelligence and how to use sacred commands to talk to it, direct it, how to use energy healing. Because a lot of things, if you think about the impact this is going to have, a lot of jobs, so many jobs are going to be taken by AI and robots. And there's other jobs, experiential things to do with going out into nature, energy healing, these types of things are going to be, they can't compete with that. They can't beam energy out and create with their imagination, talking to the quantum field, for example, to create healing outcomes. AI cannot do that. They can't tap into that energy. They can only do what they're coded to do in that realm of intelligence. It's IQ. It's not EQ and it's not SQ. So there's a big opportunity here for us to do, and the people that start off earlier in that journey, I think will do really well. So let's just take a moment to think about what we're talking about here. Your thoughts and your emotional body in your light globe, in your being, they shape your personal reality in the same way that divine forces shape the universe. And in fact, if we go another step down, the same way the coder shapes what AI can and can't do. And so what we're doing is a lot of people are going to be stepping into learning how to create realities in an artificial world without even learning how to create realities in the real world of universal intelligence. And so that's what we're talking about here. Yes, we're going to have to learn that so we can operate and still be part of this world and where it's going with technology. But the people that do really well, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, will dive into this world in a big way as well. It'll be, that's what a shaman is, and it's learning how to walk in both worlds. And so this is really important. So every thought, intention, every belief we hold is not just a fleeting mental construct. It's a creative force that mirrors the energy of the divine. You're not powerless, you're not small, you're connected to the most profound forces in existence. This is what flows through us, the trees, the bees, the earth. This is something that AI isn't, that's not what it is. It's artificial intelligence. And so learning about this natural intelligence, spiritual intelligence is going to be such an advantage and so important, just for your own sanity of you and your loved ones and your family, just for your own sanity and your own health and well-being, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, let alone if we're talking about, impact on careers and all that sort of thing. So what does this mean for you? Well, it means by tapping into and aligning your thoughts, your actions, and your belief with these universal laws, with this universal intelligence, this force that moves in through all things, you tap into a limitless source of power. And this is something that AI is, it's completely different. And so this is our advantage. This is our advantage moving forward. It's something that's never really been looked at, because if we think about what's happened on the planet, yes, because oftentimes when I have this discussion, people go, "What about religion? Religion's been around for a long time." But religion's really about, it's some of this, but it's not much of it, and a lot of it's actually about learning about worship. It's not the way of the spirit. It's not the way of the force that moves in and through all things. What we're talking about is something very different, something that's normally been actually quite hidden through different mystics and traditions. And you have to dig and uncover and piece it together. I've been doing it for 25 years. It's not the easiest thing to do, but it's really worth it because, especially where we're going, moving into such a technological world, the mystical world, the force that world is going to be such a rich and powerful place to be able to navigate and learn how to work with it, moving forward, and where we're going with all of this. So, because what we're talking about here is the same forces that move stars and planets can help you transform your life and create things in your life. And when you understand these principles, you're no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. You're no longer stuck, because you understand that you create your reality and you can flow through life with the same natural ease that governs the stars in the sky. And we can use AI as a tool to help us create what we're being guided to create from this place, from natural intelligence. Yeah, that's what'll be really, really super powerful. Because when we're talking about this, all of creation, from our most intimate personal experiences to the spin of the galaxies, dances to the tune of these immutable sacred laws. That's by a Native American Indian called Thunder Strikes. And so it makes sense to understand what they are and how to work with these laws and apply it to life, to open up your ability to work with natural intelligence. And then from that place, start to use your mind, but also an extension of that is obviously AI, to create and do some incredible things here to help yourself and help, the planet. The most incredible human inventions that are going to transform life on this planet haven't even been thought of yet. And there's no reason why it can't be one of us or all of us that connect in through learning how to meditate and connect with this universal intelligence and communicate it and get ideas, and and then using AI and some of the incredible resources there to bring them into reality. Could be a really beautiful combination of both. So that's what natural and spiritual intelligence is. It's learning how to tap into the real energy, the force that moves in and through all things, and using our mind to direct that energy to create amazing things in our own personal lives and also, for the greater good. And then we can use an extension of the mind, which is a creation of the mind, of course, whoever it was that invented AI, whether it's Elon Musk or whoever it was, I don't know who it was, um, to use as a tool. But a lot of people are just going to miss the natural intelligence side. They're going to go straight for the AI, and they're missing such an incredible bit because things get invented in the invisible world of reality before they're invented in the physical world of reality. And so if they just go there, they're going to be missing out on such an important bit, and perhaps not being informed to use that from a heart-centered place. If they're just using it from the mind and competition, then that could get dangerous. So that's why it's so important to have people like us and others who are connected to this natural intelligence. So when they're using these tools, it's from a place of the heart, not just about the mind and the ego and the limited programmable mind of man that's often informed by limiting beliefs, traumas, and things like that. We want it to be informed by the heart and the universal intelligence that moves in and through all things. So we want to be able to tap into this, the quantum field, a place where no time or space, where all information already exists. You can activate it from pure potential to reality by communicating to the field, and we can learn how to do that, right? And one of the ways we do that is we use our imagination, or as the ancients called it, the inner magician. And there's techniques and there's ways to learn how to do that. Just like people are learning the codes and the language of JavaScript and Python, whatever it is, to communicate with AI to create things, we want to learn how to communicate to the quantum field to create things. And then eventually, once we create something out of that, we might then in the physical world use AI and its tools to free up our time and create even more things using that as a tool, because it's really a difference between the mind and the spirit. And so we want to learn how to tap into our universal mind. And a lot of that's about intuition. Intuition is tuition about going within. Again, AI is something that's external. And there's a real, we spoke about this, a lot of you that have, done some of our courses and things like that, and know we're very big about going within, because humanity's been going outside of themselves for a long time. To different deities, different religions, organizations, governments. And to the extent that you do not self-govern yourself is the extent you'll be governed by an external force of some sort, a deity, a guru, an organization, a government, AI, ChatGPT, Google. So that is certainly a program that's there that's wanting to repeat through the law of attraction. It's come down through our ancestors. It's come through time with us as spiritual beings. And so we want to really learn how to go within, tap into this intuition, this force that moves in and through all things, and live and create and love from that space. Especially now, because it's going to come through thick and fast, and it's going to look very appealing. So really, really, you know, please at least take some time to tap into this and learn about this, because I think it'll just hold you in good stead and good balance. Because from this place, when we tap into this intuition, we get ideas that, we're not just tapping into what you've read, what you've learned, what you haven't learned, the podcast you've listened to, the books, you get tapping into ideas of the limitless universal mind, where every idea, all ideas, all of consciousness exists all together. So it's about tapping into not just yourself as a drop in the ocean, but the entire ocean. Really, really huge. Epiphanies, synchronicities happen from this place. You meet certain people, you get led to certain books, courses, meetings. And then we can start to build this faith in ourselves, the law of trust, and we trust the guidance that's coming from your higher self or your spirit. And once you come into that place, it's really beautiful, because it's like you can't get lost, because you realize that you're not separate. You realize you're part of this whole thing, all of life. And you walk outside and you realize you're in this beautiful relationship with the trees, the earth, the wind, the elements, and you learn to trust this energy, this energy that's moving in and through all things. And you're just here in this moment as James or as Julie or whoever it is, and you learn to start to tune into this as I said, the whole ocean rather than just your individual drop, which is really where the mind is, and you tap into the heart and this information superhighway that leaves AI in the dust. They cannot compete with that. If we're just going to stay up here, then we're going to have a lot of trouble competing with IQs of 600, 800 in robots that can work 24/7, as we were talking about before. So then we can take action from this dreamer, inner vision, intuitive directed state. Super powerful, super powerful. And so if you think about, okay, so we're coming from that place, and we've also got the tools of AI that everyone else is using, but then we've got this incredible access to be able to cover all the intellectual information and summarize it and put it all there with AI. But then the big decisions of where to go and how to use it is coming from this intuitive directed state. That is going to give you an X factor that is going to be so powerful moving forward in the future. So what happens is you access these universal energies instead of just your limited mind and programs of limitation that you have. It's a massive key to moving forward with this. AI does not have access to this magic that you do, that we all do. So what's the difference here? What are we asking you to really do here? And at the moment, and this is the area that AI exists in, right? It's all about IQ. That has been celebrated on our planet so much. It's been rewarded. College, stickers at school, A++, still it's all about the IQ is such a big part of it and what you can achieve in the physical world, materialism, and AI is going to really accentuate that. And so from our and the way we're guiding it is intelligence comes first, and then that informs our emotional intelligence, which then informs our spiritual intelligence. And because of the IQ dominance, there's so many people on the planet that don't even believe in anything spiritual. Maybe they did when they were growing up, but they've moved away from it. And AI, money has been their sort of their guiding light, or materialism. And then AI will very easily come in and take over that role. So that's the way it has been for a long time. And so what we're asking, or what we're putting into the mix here, is tapping into the universal heart mind, starting off with spiritual intelligence, tapping into this natural intelligence, this spiritual intelligence, which is about learning how to be in relationship with your mind, your body, your spirit, the quantum field, learning how to communicate with it, work with energy, starting and being, this is an area that's got so much limitless potential that hasn't been explored by mankind hardly at all. IQ has a lot, and it's just about to get passed over to something that's going to, as I said, double every year. So it's just going to take off, and we're not going to really be the ones that are in at the top of that. SQ is a whole different story, because we can then, from our spiritual intelligence, then guide our emotional intelligence and our feeling centers, and then we can then use SQ from that place of heart driven. And then we can use the AI as an incredible tool to help us create heart-led projects and all different things around the planet. And we could really, create something really beautiful. So what's the opportunity here? To create a human renaissance, to free ourselves from human doings and really step into be human beings. To be honest, we've kind of just got a modern day slavery system here. I mean, does everyone really get a chance to really live life, or do you spend most of your life working to earn money? And so AI could actually be, especially if it's from SQ, it could free up the time, the energy, the resources to give us more time to really step into these other parts of being a human, our spiritual being, our creativity, our art, our culture. It could really allow us to explore these other things other than just getting up and going to work every day to pay the rent or the mortgage and to put the kids through school. It could open up something very beautiful. To explore our creative and spiritual intuitive selves, to form relationships with our greater being and this energetic universal intelligence. That is the next frontier that I think is super powerful, and we don't have, AI is going to be going off in the physical realm of reality and in IQ. And so there's this massive opportunity here to explore here and become masters and creators and teachers and healers and all these other things in this space, guides in this space. It's an untapped area. And to become the creative coders of our lives in real life and use AI as a tool to help us to do this. So what is spiritual intelligence? We consider it to be the most important area a human being needs to study and develop. It's huge. As important, more important than studying AI. Of course, you need to stay on top of AI and utilize that in your life and your career. If you've got that kind of career, of course, if you're like myself or you're doing healing work, it's a bit different. Obviously, spiritual intelligence comes into play a lot more. But this area is something that, yourselves, family and friends, it's a really good idea to start getting into this now. So then a couple of years when this is really taking off, you've got this other side of you that you can lean into, that you can explore, maybe develop careers in, and it's going to really, really help you and give you an X factor, a huge advantage. We've known this is coming for a while. As I said, I used to do psychic readings for a living, and I saw this come up in a few card spreads. And then I came across some Native American Indian and prophecies, and also by Edgar Casey and who was the other? Nostradamus, and other ones as well. There was a Native American Indian one, Australian Aboriginal one as well. And they were all sort of talking about this, and I was like, ooh. And then I just got this absolute knowing. And so about 5 years ago, Deb and I just decided to just really step into teaching others what we do and about spiritual intelligence, because we just felt like the world really needs to understand this. And we need people within companies, within families, within communities with spiritual intelligence to be able to make sure this doesn't go out of control with the artificial stuff. It's really, really important. So just like the coder of AI needs certain knowledge and expertise, a human needs the training and expertise to use natural intelligence. Learning how to be spiritual intelligent is so important moving forward. So what we've done is we've created literally a school of spiritual intelligence, to a place to become spiritually intelligent. So you can do this whether it's personally, and at least do that. That is so important. But also because of where AI is going and the things it's going to take off the table for so many human beings, it's going to replace so many jobs. There's going to open up this incredible opportunity in the area of spiritual intelligence, of healing, spiritual coaching, all these different things that tap into spiritual intelligence that open up careers and lots of opportunities in that area. So it's something to consider as well, because a lot of us have that feeling that we're meant to be a healer of some sort, or meant to be some sort of help in this area. And so we've created lots of different personal things that you can learn about spiritual intelligence and apply that to your life. Setting up your energy medicine healing room to go and access the quantum and do things in there, spiritual coaching, learning how to be a meditation teacher, spiritual alchemy, universal laws courses, spirit of woman, living spirit program. There's so many things we've created here to help people do that. And we really feel like it's really important. And there's other people doing great things out there as well, but it's just so important for where we're at and where we're going in the future. So what are the benefits of spiritual intelligence? Well, we go from, because right now we've got a collective soul sickness, the way the average human is in relationship with their mind, even their own thoughts about themselves and about life, the way they speak, the way they cast spells, the way they're in relationship to their other fellow humans, the way their relationship to their body, their spirit, their relationship to the other species on the planet, the earth, the universe, let alone this universal intelligence. It leaves a lot to be decided. It's out of balance. And the law of harmony means things will come back into balance at some stage. It's either going to be, done by us in a really beautiful way, or it's going to be forced upon us. And so because of this, we don't want people then using these AI tools from that place of the collective soul sickness. We want them to be, soul well, I guess. We want to be in relationship with these other things. So then what they're creating with the AI is heart and form, like we've been talking about. So the relationship with their mind, their body, their spirit, other humans, other species, the earth, the sun, and the universe itself, that can be something that, if they then come into right relationship, a harmonic relationship with these beings and this universal intelligence, learn to be a creator instead of created, learning to be a dreamer instead of dreamt up in someone else's reality is going to be so important for us individually, but collectively as a species, for us to be able to move forward in a harmonic way and things not go, in a rise. So you've probably been, it makes sense, doesn't it, to consider this, because there's lots of different thoughts out there about what might happen with AI. Like I've heard Elon Musk even talking about some of his concerns about where AI might lead to. And it'll all depend on the human beings that are behind it, creating it, funding it. And so spiritual intelligence is so important for us individually and collectively to moving forward into the future. So what does it look like? It looks like having X factor, intuition. Spiritual intelligence means moving forward in life with meaning and purpose, having a beautiful connection to your mind and being able to use it as this powerful tool to direct this infinite energy inside you to create amazing things in your life and for the rest of the world as well. To be able to have a beautiful connection to nature, feel that oneness energy when you're in nature and have an incredible relationship, to be able to talk to it. It's just amazing. Feeling at one with all that is, knowing how to create and manifest, and knowing how to be a dreamer and create rather than being dreamt up in someone else's reality, and just reacting to other people that are dreamers. And AI, if we don't become dreamers of our own life and creators and self-govern our reality, AI and the people that end up controlling that AI will certainly tell us what to do. If we don't know what to do for ourselves and what we want to do and what we want and how we want to relate, there will be other things there. We'll step up and say, oh, I'll tell you exactly what to do. And so it's a very important thing. So that's my presentation. And I would love to now open it up to some Q&A and see what questions we've got here. So what have we got here? Platform of AI where you can ask anything, control the internet and give you an answer. What have we got there? Yeah, so I'm not sure what that question is, Peter. If you want to unmute yourself and let me know what that question is. Can also write essays, CVs, whatever you like. Oh, I see. Yes. So yes, there are some incredible tools that AI will let us do. And so it can also be an incredible tool. Absolutely. A bit spooky. Yep. Iris has said it's a bit spooky. It can be if it's created and used from just the mind and the trauma-informed limited program mind of man. It could be, but there's a lot of amazing heartfelt people here, and there's an energy that's going on astrologically and energetically that's enabling humans to really wake up and remember who and what they are. And I think if we do that and we become spiritually intelligent, it only takes a small amount of people, and what these prophecies spoke about is a small amount of people, about 144,000 people, that would really lead the way from a heart-based space. And I think AI could be used as an incredible tool to bring in these heart-led ideas. So let's so feel free to unmute yourself if you've got any questions or comments that you wanted to share about this topic, or if you want, you can also put it in the chat bot as well.
James, I have a question, please.
Yes, Debbie, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Very well.
So James, this is a world that I find quite stressful, actually. So I really, everything you're saying, like I kind of can see how you can use, all this stuff for work, as a tool. But I see it so much in everybody and how it controls people. And like you said, that addiction, and even in kids, I get kids that come to me in clinic with all these diagnoses of ADD and all the rest of it, and they don't really have anything wrong with them. They're just addicted, and it's like going, all the time. They're on a screen. They've forgotten how to play. They've forgotten how to be outside. So I just want to know, like, because I've also spoken to Debbie about this, and it's sort of in terms of social media. So I'm kind of not a social media freak, but I've sort of tapped in and out and followed only people I find useful and all that. But at the beginning of this year, I just took myself off all of it. And my life is so much better for doing that. But I do understand that it's the way the world is and everybody's into it. So how do you get to that point? Like, I know Debbie said this to me as well. She said it just doesn't even affect her. It like just rolls off her back, and she uses it, but it also doesn't influence her. And I find that so difficult because I get so frustrated with rubbish. And then I also go, how do you even know what's real anymore? When people are talking, because some of it sounds really good. And then you go, but someone else says something that also sounds good, but they're contradicting each other. And so it just creates this huge stress. And so I
Yep.
just feel like if I'm not on it, I'd rather just step out and stay kind of where I am. And I'm so much happier and I'm such a better person and I feel more connected. But I also realize that we have to kind of somehow live with it.
I think everything you're talking about there is, the external world of reality. Like I myself don't get on it much at all. I use it for a little bit for work, but I don't socially connect or get on socials at all. So for me, it's just like I just don't operate in that world. So for me, it's people come around and we sit around a fire and under the stars and the magic of the real world. That's just how I operate. And I
Yeah.
reckon ADD should be renamed NDD, nature deficit disorder. And
Yeah.
so it's just about creating balance. And you can see people building. So our job as a community is to remind people of coming back to nature, putting their feet on the earth, sit around a fire. You're not going to stop kids from getting it, but it's just creating this balance. And
Yeah.
sometimes a bit of tough love. Sometimes we're going to have to force them to do it. It's like some of the kids at school never wanted to exercise. They just wanted to play guitar or whatever, but that you had to go and do PE. And because why? Because they knew it was so important for you to get exercise. I think nature and coming back and getting off the socials and the technology and into nature is going to be so important.
Yeah.
It's huge, huge.
But
Yeah.
I mean,
So
surely all that stuff is even influencing nature. Because I mean, in the place where we're living, it's in this complex, right? And it's kind of all the rich people that have created, it's kind of like one of those movies you watch where, I don't know, there are movies about Cape Town and they use these complexes. And the guy replants and plants the garden every day because it has to look a certain way. And I mean, we just think that's ridiculous. So it's almost like you drive in here and I've got trees and a beautiful grass and all the rest, but it feels plastic, even though it's not plastic, but if I go into the forest up the mountain, that feels amazing. So it's
yes.
like, how is AI going to affect all of this natural stuff as well? Because it's frequency, like you said.
Yep. So the Earth is so powerful. So it will hold a resonance that will not override, but it will be a place that it's been here for so long, and it will hold like it will. All those other things will go away before it goes away, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
it'll be end up being these contained areas of technological. You see it in all those movies like Tron and what's those other movies with Harrison Ford in it? I can't think of it now, but those futuristic movies, there's always these big cities and there's ads everywhere and there's robot cars and things flying around, but then there's always out in nature that's
Yeah.
different. So this doesn't Blade Runner. That's it. Doesn't mean you can't be in those cities. But if I was living in those cities, I'd sure as hell have a whole range of things to help me connect to the earth. I mean, I personally won't be living in a city. I moved out of a
Yeah.
city a long time ago, and even where we are now, Sunny Coast is getting a bit busy. So we're going to move somewhere more nature. That's just me. But other people will still be able to live in a city and be in that world, but even then, having a place where they can come, even if it's just a pot plant, even if it's a park at the end of the street. Like in a city, when I'm in a city and I walk up and I touch a tree and I just go, oh my God, thank you. Like what that tree is doing for the human beings there is unbelievable. And they're often this poor little tree. They've got one little, and then it's concrete all around them, and they're still there holding that
Yeah.
energy and that resonance. and nature will never give up on us, because it's what we are. We're not separate from it. So everything you're talking about is actually how we're all being impacted, because we are all, as they put more concrete, as they put more chemicals, as they put more of this stuff in, that, we're talking about the effects on nature. We are nature, so we're all getting squashed, and our chakras are shrinking, and our auric fields are coming in as all that expands. And so, but there can be a really good balance of it. So I often look at, like there's a guy called, what's that called? His name's Jacques, the Venus Project. Have a look at Google the Venus Project. He's passed away now, but this guy he really thought about how do you do this in a way that combines technology with nature. So there is a way of doing this and utilizing technology to be an incredible tool to help nature thrive and survive. It's really a big program that the planet is overpopulated. It's just not. I mean, there's so much resources for everybody. There's this program of limitation and scarcity that plagues humanity, and it's abundant. And we just need to know how to work with it properly. And it can be more than enough for everybody. That's it. Jacques Fresco. Emma, you're full of the answers here. This is for you're like Google.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Debbie. Great question. Anyone else got any comments, questions, ideas you wanted to chat about or talk about? We've already gone past 7:30, so totally get if you need to run. That's no problems. But happy to stay around and chat for a bit if anyone's got any question. Claire.
James, what's the M Motion A1 note taker? Is that you?
I've got no idea what that is.
Is that somebody online?
I don't know.
Chat?
I've got no idea.
Have we got somebody infiltrating the group and no one knows about it?
Yep, it's called AI.
But who is it?
Motion AI note taker.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Actually, it's learning from us, and it can put it into their IQ.
So this is really interesting. So I think what this is, Andrea had it on when I was having a meeting with her the other day, and she was asking me these questions. And so what that is that's going to actually take notes of what we're talking about, and it can break down into main points, and then you can put it out on.
That's correct.
Exactly. So this is what I'm talking about. AI can actually be a tool to help get a natural, beautiful spiritual message out there. Or it can be something that people just get completely lost in and just ignore this whole other side of things. Because this is the area of human potential. AI is not human potential. This area we've been talking about, that is such an untapped area. And it's been kept from us for so long. And so it's so important that, because we could all just go down that tunnel. But and the age of Aquarius is double-sided. Nick's probably got a few comments about that, because the astrology is also sort of saying exactly what we're talking about here. Nick, do you want to just sort of share a little bit about that, what we're talking about the other night around the fire?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, and before we hit Pluto and Aquarius, I remember looking at this and going, well, there's always an opposite in the astrological wheel or with any energy, and the opposite is Leo. So the Aquarius is the mind, Leo is the heart. So the key is, like James is talking about, heart intelligence. It's about connecting to the heart. I mean, the heart was formed before the brain. There's more neural pathways in the heart. So for me, it's just a natural given. If we embody the heart, we can create the balance with the polarity and the opposition of Aquarius, which takes us more and more into the mind, which, I mean, it's great to have that mind and intelligence, but we've got to earth and ground it and come back into balance. And to do that, the polarity, we've got to look at the heart. So for me, it's just a simple thing. Leo governs the heart, and the other energies are creativity, all the things you've talked about, James, joyfulness. It's the house of children, play. So, connecting to play, nature, all the things that keep us childlike and connected to our spirit and help us remember who and what we are. And that's all what you're talking about, James. It's all exactly that. So yeah.
Even simple things like I can't remember what country it is. It's maybe it's the Netherlands or Sweden, but on their highways, every so often they have like a path that goes over the highway for all the animals and stuff to cross safely. like we're lucky if every 200 kilometers we have a little wire that goes across the thing or something, like, that is working with technology, but also considering all the other species that are here on the planet together. And so AI can be treated the same. I've I will share this, but how can I share this in a way that doesn't reveal? So what I'll say is this. So there is things happening, and I've been approached previously by someone who was very high up in AI, wanting to find out how they could possibly put an energy or a spirit into robotics, into AI. And then we had a conversation about why that's not a good idea. And from that conversation, and the things that emerged from that conversation, this person now, really is actually a massive proponent for having a code of ethics in AI, and actually, travels around the world, and really is a big proponent of talking about using it ethically and safely. So you can see how that was a spiritually intelligent conversation that was had. And so because of the spiritual intelligence that I've garnished and built over many years of my life, since I was 19 and getting into this, I was able to have that conversation with a person of influence in that area, as will you, and as will all of us that go on this journey of spiritual intelligence. It'll be tiny little informations, little seeds that get planted, that, when you take a child out, and Debbie, when you're talking to someone and you recommend that they go out into nature, or they do this, or they take this natural remedy instead of maybe this other thing, you never know what bird is going to turn the flock. Because if we're heading in a certain direction, and it just takes one little bird to turn, and the whole flock turns. And so you never know what person you're talking to that you share a bit of spiritual intelligence with, that enables the change to go in the direction we need it to go in. So that's why it's so important. We all have a role to play in this, in where we're going in life. Nature, reality isn't set in stone. It's an evolving thing, and we don't want it to be directed to, because it already is. As you were saying, Debbie, it's like, what do you trust now? People are so influenced. Elections are so influenced by algorithms. So we'd be really naive to think that won't also play out in all this AI stuff and ChatGPT. We'd be very naive to think that those answers that come through don't have some sort of, they're not guiding us in a certain direction. This in here, this will only guide you what's best for you. And so if we're all tapping into our inner guidance, then we don't have to worry about whether that's true out there, or this is true here, or do we do this, we do that. This person's saying to do the ketogenic diet, this person's saying to be vegan. They probably both had validity, but when I tune into my being, what is my being saying that my body and my being wants? And when we go with that, as an example. So it's exciting. There's also some things we need to be aware of, but tuning into our intuition, our spiritual intelligence, is so important moving forward, not just for us, but our fellow humans and the other species on the planet. They all need us as human beings to wake up and remember who we are. We're not separate to them, and to and to be beacons of light moving forward in the world. So